Welcome back to another episode of Utility Room Legends, the podcast where we sit down with the people behind the projects, the innovations, and the infrastructure that keeps our communities running. I'm your host, John Davis. If you're enjoying these conversations, make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to check out utilityroomlegends.com, where you can watch full episodes, listen to past interviews, and learn more about the incredible people shaping the water and wastewater industry. One of the things I've learned over the years is that this industry isn't built by products alone. It's built by people. Also, the best leaders don't just oversee and direct teams that sell equipment or products. They solve problems. They build relationships. They develop people. And they leave the industry better than they found it. Today's guest is someone who has spent decades doing exactly that. Ron Smith is the Vice President of Distribution and Networks for Vortex Companies, one of the industry's leading innovators in trenchless rehabilitation and underground infrastructure solutions. Over the course of his career, Ron has held nearly every leadership role imaginable, from regional sales manager to national sales manager, senior vice president, president, and now helping lead one of the fastest growing companies in the trenchless industry. But titles aren't what define Ron. What defines him is his passion for educating others, building teams, and constantly looking for better ways to solve tomorrow's infrastructure challenges. In this episode, we cover a little bit of everything. We talk about how football helped shape Ron's leadership philosophy, why communication may be the single most important skill anyone can develop, what it really takes to build successful teams, and why surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you isn't a weakness. It's one of the greatest strengths leaders can have. We also dive into one of the most exciting areas in our industry, the evolution of trenchless technology. From CIPP lining and sectional repairs to robotic cutters, UV curing, water main rehabilitation, and we discuss how innovation is changing the way municipalities maintain aging infrastructure. Ron also shares, while he believes finding solutions to the challenges in our industry has never been important than it is right now. As our population grows and new industries like AI, data centers, and advanced energy solutions continue expanding, the pressure on our aging water infrastructure has never been greater. That makes innovation and rehabilitation technologies more important than ever. Of course, it wouldn't be Utility Room Legends without a few laughs along the way. We talk Ohio State versus Michigan, middle linebacker mentality, what happens when someone refuses to follow installation instructions, and you'll hear the story about a sectional repair that literally shook the ground beneath everyone's feet. Sometimes the best lessons come from the biggest mistakes. What I enjoyed the most about this conversation is that it keeps coming back to one simple idea. Innovation matters. Technology matters. But none of it works without people who are willing to communicate, teach, learn, and continually improve. That's how industries evolve. It's how relationships are built, and it's how legends are made. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation with my friend, Ron Smith. Let's get into it. The myth, the man, the legend. Ron Smith, glad to have you on here, brother.
Happy to be here. Awesome.
Yeah, finally doing it?
Finally doing it.
Yeah. Well, why don't you just introduce yourself? I already gave away the name. I already gave away the first surprise.
Yeah. So Ron Smith with Vortex Companies. I'm the Vice President of Distribution and Networks for the company, and working closely with rep masters here in the Mountain region, and looking forward to just a long relationship, continued long relationship with rep masters and
from past days, from days gone by.
Days gone by.
Well, just getting started, why don't you actually, I always want to hear how in the hell did you get in the industry? Because that's usually, nobody actually starts out as a kid thinking, man, I want to get in water and wastewater.
Well, John, it's interesting because had no idea about the wastewater water industry, the plumbing industry. Started my career back in the late 90s, working with a manufacturer that was in that arena. Was a young regional sales manager. Worked on the East Coast, and then kind of developed through the years into a national manager, and then working with the trenchless part of the business, and learned a lot of different projects, learned a lot of different technologies, and as that continued to blossom, obviously opportunities come along with that, and here I am today.
Yeah. And you're originally from Michigan?
Right. Born and raised in Ohio, but been in Michigan for almost 30 years now.
Yeah. So are you still a Buckeye fan, or is that
100% Buckeye fan?
There's a lot of Michigan people. Right? Damn it.
I'm the most hated person on that Michigan-Ohio State game. And of course, I flaunt that a little bit. I wear everything Ohio State,
Everything
red
Buckeye.
pants, everything I can that has Buckeye on it.
Yeah. Did you play football growing up?
I did.
Yeah.
I played all through grade school, and then high school, and then 4 years in college. So I had a great opportunity and learned a lot. And I always say that sports has kind of been the foundation of hard work, and I was glad to be part of it, and had a lot of success during my playing years, and enjoyed that very much.
What position you play?
Played middle linebacker.
That checks out.
Yes.
You got that like Dick Butkus thing going on.
A little bit. I hear that quite often.
And a lot of people don't know with Ohio, it's like everyone always thinks of Texas for football, and but that's where Canton, the birthplace of football, Pro Football Hall of Fame. So there's a little bit of a rivalry there with those Ohio recruits and Texas recruits.
Oh, it was interesting because I went to school in Michigan, in college, and coming out of Ohio, going to Michigan to play at a Michigan college, really was a little different. And growing up, you're either a Cleveland Browns fan, or you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, or you went an hour north to Detroit and you're a Detroit fan. Well, I was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so I kind of bucked the system all the way along.
I like the Steelers too.
Oh,
I like
absolutely.
Pittsburgh. It's a great city.
Great city.
Blue collar, hardworking people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great place. So you grew up. You went to high school you were in Ohio still then?
I went to high school for a year in Ohio. Then I moved right over the border into Michigan, about 7 miles over the border, and finished my high school career in Michigan.
And you've been in the frozen tundra ever since?
Ever since.
But you travel quite a bit. So.
I do. A lot of travel, and so you get to see a lot of places and try to escape a little bit of the cold in the wintertime.
Yeah, that's when you're traveling the most.
Yeah. Or at least you try to.
You try to. Yeah, and so where'd you go to college at?
I went to Albion College.
Okay.
Yep, small Midwestern school in Michigan, and great education, great friends, just a all around opportunity to really grow and play ball and go to school and get an education, and it was a great experience.
What'd you major in?
Business and psychology.
Okay, those are good ones.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what I wanted to be at that time, so it was kind of a dual major, and maybe I was going to be a psychologist, maybe I was going to go into business, but you get to use a little bit of both now.
You do, absolutely, especially when you get into management. That's managing. It's managing processes, and but the hardest challenge is managing people, and everyone's different. And what motivates one guy doesn't motivate the other.
No, and I think just using those skills, and then going on for my graduate degree, in business and a secondary master's in organizational leadership, just building that foundation and working with people is huge, and just really working closely to make sure that people understand and communicate effectively. That's always important.
Yeah, communications. I mean, they're the biggest thing that I've even learned over the years, and it's taken a long time. Is number one. You're never as good as you think, and you're never as bad as you think. So you can't get all cocky, think you know everything, especially in this industry, because you're never going to know it all.
No, and just having that basic communication is so huge. If I always say to a lot of the young guys that I've worked with is just make sure that you communicate effectively. You let people, you follow up, you make those phone calls, you make those emails, you make those texts count, and that you're reaching out and making sure people understand what's happening. Having people skills, it's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of a story that I remember when I was in the car business. I had this boss that was a huge Bears fan, and but he had us watch this video. It was like a training seminar that Mike Ditka gave to managers or business managers, business executives, and he was reciting this story about how you learn how to manage different people, and he had Mike Singletary on the bus, gets on the bus, and he had he had a pretty good game. I mean, it wasn't phenomenal. And he was feeling pretty good. And Mike Ditka said, I knew it drove him. He wanted to be the best. He wanted to be in the Hall of Fame. He wanted to be the best at what he did. And so I just leaned in behind him and said, you think you're going to get in the Hall of Fame with those numbers, with those stats today? And then he knew it would drive him nuts. But, and then they had Mike Singletary talking about how it pissed him off because then Jim McMahon would get on the bus, shoeless, barefoot, already grabbed a beer, and he doesn't say anything to him. And Mike Dick was laughing when they were reciting the story. He's like, well, that wouldn't have motivated Jim McMahon. Mm-hmm. But you got to learn what motivates certain people.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's ego, sometimes it's just doing a great job. And I think, throughout my career in this industry, it's been gratifying to watch and build different teams and work with different professionals, and the experiences that I've been able to experience has just been great, because you get to see all aspects from the beginning to the people that have perfected their skill, mm-hmm. and work with them, and then you learn from them, because you're always learning, and I think that's a major key in this whole thing.
Yeah,
is just continue to learn and look at things from a standpoint to understand where your weaknesses are, and surround yourself with people that are better than you are. Mm-hmm. And I always think that that's just a huge thing. Is I always had a statement that an old coach told me. He says, don't measure my success, but measure the success of the others around you, and that was your team.
Yeah.
And being part of a team and being part of that whole thing really set you in the right path, because you realize that you could be great, but if your team wasn't great,
it didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a philosophy we've taken all the way across the board in this.
Yeah. Well, not to mention too, even if you're great and your team isn't, it almost kind of makes you look like a guy who's it's all about me, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I want the accolades. It's just never. It's always got to be about supporting those around you and making everyone better. And that's our Rep Masters motto, right? Is excellence together, because that's
absolutely.
You can't. And I never, that was another hard thing we talk about, like, ego and never thinking you're never as good as you think you are. That part of it, you always have to be able to take criticism, or if a lot of people nowadays, a lot of the younger guys, they can't deal with that. They get defensive, they get upset, they get mad. And it's taken a while for me to learn, but it's like those. I got to take a step back, and in my head, I got to think: is there anything that I can look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, I know what they're talking about, and it may, and the truth's always somewhere in the middle. It may not be as bad as what they're telling you it is. That's their perception, right? But you have to go. There's a reason. No one gets no one has a sit down talk to without. It's coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of got an idea, and you always got to be honest with yourself. That's the hardest thing for anyone to do.
Oh, and I think that you're exactly right. I think that again, when you're working with people and you have to do your own self-evaluation, you got to look at yourself in the mirror a little bit and say, hey, could I have done better? Yep. And if I'm asking them to do these things, am I doing the same thing? Am I communicating effectively? Am I following up? Am I working, to meet our goals? And being part of a team and playing college sports and being invested in growing businesses over the years, I think the biggest thing is just being competitive, and having that right competitive edge. If you're in sales and if you're in this business and you want to grow and you want to continue to work hard, you have to have some level of competitiveness about what you're doing, and how you manage that competitiveness is really important.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of guys that have tremendous skill, but as soon as something doesn't go right, they're out of the game.
Done. Yeah.
They can't handle it.
Yeah.
It's just like when you watch somebody play golf and they hit a bad shot and they start throwing their clubs around. I mean, I'm competitive. I want to hit the best shot every time I play, but I don't throw my clubs around either.
I've only thrown one club.
I only threw one years ago. Maybe I lost it in a lake down in Florida. But
I mean, sports is definitely something that I think that's why I'm adamant with my kids and encourage them, if they want to play sports, because that's good. And both my kids, it's funny because the oldest one that played football, and then now I got the third one's playing football, and learning how to lose is a very important. It's just as important as learning how to win,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
things are not going to go your way in life. And it's like what I always tell them is, you're not going to win at everything you do in life. It's just not going to happen, and that's okay. But you got to. The key is, how quick do you pick yourself back up and push forward.
Oh, yeah, and I've been very fortunate with my own children. They both of my sons have played high school football. Both have played college football. My daughter plays competitive travel softball, and they all.
I hear
kinda,
she's pretty good.
Well, she's doing pretty good. She hit her first home run last week. A solo shot to center field, and she came around second, pumping her arms, and the excitement was huge, and it was great because the whole family was there to see her.
Yeah.
With the exception of my son that lives down in South Carolina, but her brother was home from college. I was there. Her mother was there. Everybody was there to kind of support her, and she had some friends and aunts there, and it was just a great opportunity for her to, really showcase what the hard work that she's doing. And her goals are to play college softball, and she's got a couple years to go, so we'll see how that goes. And but it's been fun.
Well, you've managed a lot of rep agents. Well, been responsible working with rep agencies, your own employees that were under you as management. So the question I would ask is, what's harder to manage, people, like employees, people, or your kids?
I guess that's probably a loaded question a little bit. I guess it's situational.
Yeah.
Your kids are so dependent on you as a parent, and showing them the right things to do, and trying to really make sure that you provide for them, and they learn people skills and social skills and life skills from you. And then you have your employees, but you spend more time with them at a lot of times than you do with
your own family.
With your own family, and they become like your children too. And I say that in a very positive way, because some of my best relationships have been through through work and through my relationships with people at work. So it's a balancing act. I don't know if one's easier than the other. It's just all situational.
Yeah, I don't think either one of them are easy at all.
No.
I remember telling my boss years ago, man, this job would be easy if it wasn't for all the brain damage and the having to deal with people with their issues and coming in with negative attitudes, and they can't figure out what they're doing wrong. It's like that's the job. Like that's why it's a management job.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you're not coming in and just doing your job and walking out after 8 or 10 hours. You're there, and I always have a saying with my kids and with employees. I said, we as managers, we as professionals, you have to look at and understand that life happens, and you have to have some flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
And when things are really good, you celebrate those things, and when things are bad, you're there for support.
Yeah.
And if you have to make tough decisions, you have to make tough decisions also. So, but life happens. I mean, I love that saying that you just got to kind of live by that motto and drive that home all the time, good and bad.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of things from the military stuck with me, and one of them, the Marine Corps, is improvise, adapt, and overcome. So whatever it is, you're going to have to find a way to go around it, move whatever the obstacle is, adapt, improvise if you have to, and then go forward.
I think last week you and I were talking, and I was raised in a military family. My father was in the Marine Corps, and his motto always, it was exactly what you just said. You have to, assess, adapt, and overcome.
Yep.
And look at that from that standpoint with everything you do. My kids use that model today. I learned that from him through his military career, and looking at it, you kind of laugh and you kind of think about what those words mean, and you think about life. I mean, you're always assessing what's going on, and what the best decision, and then you got to adapt, and then you got to overcome the challenges, good or bad. And I think that's it's just a great thing that our military teaches us, and again, I think the servicemen, men and women that have served have taken that to the next degree. So.
Yeah, and I think that's where I get a lot of passion from, and whatever I do is like if I'm going to do it, I'm gonna go all in. So that's kind of how I've always been. And that's even with this thing. It was if I didn't have Sky kind of pushing and encouraging for the podcast. It was something we always talked about doing. And I'm not a big organized person, so when you say surround yourself with people that are better than you on things, I think when you look at Diamond and Sky and Brent, that's that's a group that I can surround myself with. That I know there's things that they do that that are real challenging for me, like the organization skills and that. I kind of like to go and move and look for the solutions and try and find people's problems and find the solution. To me, dealing with the customer is the most important thing in the world. But that doesn't really translate when you're managing people that are, you're trying to instill that in others, and then develop some of those other skills that you're having to learn. You're always learning, like you said. Each position is something different.
Oh, absolutely. And just that from a management standpoint and this business that we're in, people move around and then they resurface and everybody has a job to do, and reinventing themselves sometimes is a really great opportunity. Or
Absolutely.
They may be at one distributor, they may be at one company, and then all of a sudden they're over here and they're in a different role or responsibility where you have to look at them a little differently. And again, I think that it allows us, in more than any other industry, because I have friends that are in banking, I have friends that are in technology. They're pretty well locked in on what their specialty is.
Yeah.
And every day is a little different challenge in this industry for us, and different opportunities and applications come up as technologies change. Especially in the trenchless side of the business, we're seeing just a ton of new technologies and it's education. Almost a little bit like you're a teacher, an educator, because you're out there telling that story and educating others. So it's pretty neat to see the industry continue to grow and change over the years.
Yeah, that's what I think has been the most encouraging is the different innovation technologies that are coming into the industry. When I first got into this almost 14 years ago, it was we've been doing this stuff the same way since the 70s, the 60s. I mean, for the most part. And now you're seeing a lot of new technologies, better ways. And really, it's about having the right tools. And when you look at all the different products that are out there, I had one of the guys that worked for the factory, I think it was at Westlake Pipe. He used to always say, Robert Eads used to always say, it's just another tool in the belt. There's no product that does absolutely everything. It's just a tool in the belt.
Yep, and I use the term quite often as, what is the solution? And there's so many different solutions, and technologies is, you can do A, B, C. You can use those different products, but you're providing the same solution. Yeah. And when you have that tool in your tool belt, as you said, it really makes you effective as a manager, as a manager of people, manager of sales. It just really allows you to, have those skill sets to be able to adapt to what you need to adapt to.
Yeah. So I couldn't have said it better myself, because that's in every aspect, whether it is in management, whether you're dealing with customers, having different solutions. You're looking at it from a solution standpoint, which is how it should be, because that's all as a manufacturer, that's all a manufacturer's trying to provide, right? Is a solution to a problem.
Absolutely, and listening. So many times people don't listen to what the solution is available, and they're used to doing, as you said, that they're one way, and then you say, hey, do you do this? Do you do that? How do you do it? What other options do you have? And all of a sudden, the light bulb goes off. Oh, hey, there are products, there are technologies that support what I'm trying to do in the same manner. I just got to learn those and be open to adapt to them.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting, even today, making some of our sales calls, just kind of talking to individuals. Do you do any of this? Is this something that you're seeing? I see it everywhere. Are you currently interested in? No, I didn't really see it, but I see it on every spec sheet. I see it on every bid going out, but we just don't really do it. Well, would you like to do it? Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. Can we set something up to educate you? And it's interesting because they look at it from that standpoint. They see that it's there, but they're just not used to changing and
Yeah.
adapting. As you said, it's just adapt and overcome. I mean, they got to overcome that fear of doing something different.
Getting outside your wheelhouse a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 'Cause getting outside the box thinking is always the tough one. But there's so many products. I mean, so many products that you could get narrow-minded and focused on one, but it's like, if you have something that's new, that's innovative, that's an opportunity to, to do something that no one else is doing, or that very few. If you're doing the same thing that everyone's doing, you're competing against 90% of the market, right? But if you're doing something that no one else is doing, or very few people are doing, that market opportunity is huge.
Yes. And people say, well, is that a niche product? Is that a niche solution? No, it's especially in the trenchless side of the business and trenchless rehab side of the business, we are really seeing that it's becoming mainstream.
Yeah.
15, 18, 20 years ago, it was kind of looked upon as maybe a little bit more witchcraft, and
Voodoo.
it was voodoo, and now it's a mainstream process. It's professional. It's done the right way. There's standards and codes that we meet, and again, just providing those solutions and educating individuals that it's available. That's a huge part of it. And when they hear about it, they're like, really? I heard about that, but I've never taken the time to really look at that. And you go, yeah, that could be a solution for you. Oh yeah, it really is.
Yeah, now you see lining and CIPP like all over the place, like and rehab. Yeah, it's just because we have an aging infrastructure issue, so it's kind of naturally we're at that time right now where it's either replace and repair. We can't just go replace everything, because it's not even feasible. So now we got to look at different solutions.
Different solutions to rehab, and when we talk about looking at recession-proof economy and products and business units and markets, what we do in this wastewater industry is just it's recession-proof, because we live in the United States. We live where it's not acceptable to have backed up toilets, or
Right.
sewer lines that are not working, or water lines that are contaminated. So it's one of those things that there's a need in bringing young people into this industry and educating them, and making sure that they're looking at this as a career is just a huge thing across the board.
Yeah.
Because you hear everything about AI, and you hear everything about the computer side of the world, but at the end of the day, what we do is really important. It's just not pretty, and it's not seen, so it's not pretty. But it's one of those things that's an industry that will continue to grow and continue to prosper, because it's never going to go away. We're not going to allow ourselves to go back to being a third world country where
Right.
And we're very, very fortunate that we don't have to think about those things. But when we turn on our tap, or we flush our toilet, we know that there's a sewer service, or we know that there's clean water coming to us. We don't have to fear that, and
No.
just getting people invested in that is a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to allow ourselves to go back to a third world country, but we're spending money like we might want to go back to a third world country.
That's true. That's true.
But like you said, everyone needs water, right? And then my kids used to have this funny book my brother got them, was Everyone Poops.
Yeah.
So everyone needs water and everyone poops.
Absolutely.
But most people don't think about it. You flush the toilet, and I've lived in Mexico. I've spent time in Kuwait. People take for granted a lot what we have here.
And we do, and I've been fortunate to travel, all over the world and see some of those areas that are not as fortunate, and it is like, wow. I mean, we take a lot for granted, and we should be very, very proud of what we do have and the infrastructure we have, and again, it is one of those things that we don't think about.
No.
But I always kind of laugh as when somebody says, "Man, I can't believe my sewer system's backed up," or they're out there cleaning, or they're out there televising, or what are they doing? I've got to go around a cone. I'm like, you have no idea how fortunate you really are.
Yeah, these systems should, really with the amount of crap that people shove down the toilet, it's amazing that they function like they do.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I've seen those cameras. Yeah, it's not fun.
No. And in our business and what we do, I mean, I always say there's three main things that has to take place in anything that we are going to rehab in the trenchless arena. Is one, we've got to be able to camera and assess what the situation is. Two, you got to be able to clean that area or clean out what is causing some of those problems. And then thirdly is, what is the solution?
Right.
And in the old world, it was dig everything up and put a new section of pipe in and connect them. And in the
It's under your home, jackhammer the floor of your home, basement floor of your home.
Take your floor out.
Yep.
If you didn't have a basement, jack open your floor and dig down or cut across your driveway or your pool deck or whatever it is. And now with the trenchless solutions that are out there, it just makes it much easier, whether you're lining or if you're using a section repair or stopping water infiltration. There's just so many different solutions without digging everything up and disrupting the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So it's just been a great ride in this industry to kind of watch it evolve.
Yeah.
And starting many years ago, watching the process in the U.S. Many of our counterparts overseas were late years ahead of us, and now we've started to catch up with a lot of those technologies, and some of our UV technologies are just amazing.
Trenchless in general. I mean, when you look at pipe bursting and replacing out old cast iron pipe, and then putting in PVC or HDPE behind it. Some of the cartridge, like the Certalock product, that's like a cartridge style, interlocking bell joint, typical standard bell joint, and then it just has a spline that goes in and locks the pipe, and then you can pull that in a static pull behind, and you can be bursting pipe and replacing brand new sections of pipe without having to dig.
Yeah, and it's you got a crack or a break or separation in a pipe where you can use a sectional repair. That business has just evolved over the years, and watching that grow has been amazing to me, and really seeing the different technologies that allow us to do that, whether it's using a UV repair or being able to do a TY lateral, fixing the main and the lateral at the same time. Whoever thought that was going to be available,
right?
And just seeing those different things that are allowed or being used within the industry, and the different products that are just out there. I mean, it's really fun to watch the industry grow.
Yeah, and then you're seeing too a lot of, you mentioned AI, but a lot of the tech side that's coming, software, like everything now, it's kind of converging. It's an exciting time to be in the industry, and that's one of the reasons I want to do the podcast too, is because I'm hoping that there might be someone out there that thinks they might discover that deep down they're a water nerd, and they might be in high school or something like that, and there's a whole industry there that man, like it's an exciting time to be in it, and you can be in the software side, you can still be in the
sensor and software side, and watching liners cure, and watching some of the robotic cutters that are available. It's like playing a video game. You're using a joystick inside of a camera.
Yeah,
truck.
I wasn't very good at that one.
No, I wasn't either, but it was just really there's so many advantages, even to young individuals and young people that are coming in the industry that can use the technology just like they're playing a video game. I mean, there's simulators that are available that you're driving a camera down a pipe and you're using a robotic cutter to be able to
reinstatements
to reinstatements, and people go, well, what are reinstatements? Well, when you're lining a pipe and you have your home or your business coming into that sewer line, which they don't recognize it take place, and you got to fix that, you have to be able to go in and kind of reinstate those. So
It's a bad day if you don't. If
It's
you
a
miss
bad day.
if you miss a reinstatement and you tell them all everything's good, it's a bad day pretty quick.
it's a bad day very quick. So again, technology is really cool, and as you continue to watch the solutions that not only our company has and the industry has, but as you look at the sensor software, you look at the technology, you look at the robotic cutters, you look at the advancements that are being made. It's just fun to watch. It really is. It's exciting.
It is, yeah. And the cool thing too is that now, even with those tools, AI is never going to be able to go out and do a point repair. AI is not going to go out and start up a control valve. AI is not going to assess. It's not going to do anything that you. At the end of the day, you physically have to go out at some point and work on the system. But AI is a great tool for methods and creating new technologies, new apps, new tools that can help and assist in whether it's infrastructure, pipe condition assessment, or whatever it is. It's just another tool.
It's another tool, and I think AI really, there's a place for it. There's a use for it. It helps us immensely. You have data centers popping up all over the place, and that infrastructure that alone, just in creating those data centers, are going to be huge, and supporting how those data centers are maintained down the road in the rehab portion of the business is going to be interesting to see. Everything's new right now, but water infiltration will take place. There are lines going in. There's a need to have infrastructure built around those data centers that are supporting the AI movement. And I really look at it and say, this is just the tip of the iceberg for another section of our business to continue to grow. And over the years, the upcoming years in this industry and technology business, you're going to see that need continue to rise.
Yeah. Data center is like a mini city. I mean, I've been out on site at a couple different ones. And there was one that I was at, and the main that feeds, so it branches off to your different buildings to go there, is a 12-inch line. A 12-inch line is crazy for something that has maybe, security personnel there and a couple maintenance guys, and that's it. So that's just the demand. I mean, these things they're doing. The demand's like 6 million gallons a day, like for just to be able to keep these things cool.
Oh, absolutely. And again, as time goes on, we're going to see more and more demand for rehabilitation, and trenchless technologies to really step into that AI world.
I think you're going to see it. I think you're going to see a demand for trenchless in data center too, because it's everything there is about how quickly can we get it done and the ease and in those systems. It reminds me a lot of when they legalized marijuana in Colorado, and you would have these warehouse space was like gold anywhere. So these guys were buying up warehouses so they could grow cannabis, and if you had a grow facility, that warehouse was never meant. It was meant to have like 6 warehouse employees and a small office staff. So, you got a 1 inch, maybe a 1 inch line, maybe a 2 inch line going to a building. And it was never meant for hydroponics, for growing plants, marijuana.
Right.
And so we would see this all the time. They would install booster pumps. I mean, these guys were going out and they didn't know. A lot of people didn't want to sell to them because they didn't know, it's kind of a corporate stance as well. We're not going to support this because federally it was still illegal. So there was these guys all had like these Home Depot cards, and they would go out and they would bust stuff all the time because they were putting booster pumps in, and they were running like 30, 40 feet per second velocity through systems just to keep them fed. And that's kind of reminds me of, like, at least on the data center side, the design's scalable. They all understand that. They know the demand that they need. But in that, it reminds me of that as far as what the need's going to be. That demand is going to put a strain on a system too.
It is, and being being broken or being down is not going to be acceptable. And, you know, quickness and response and using a trenchless rehab technology to be able to provide that solution is going to be very, very important, because a data center is not going to be able to be down for 2 or 3 days as repairs are made.
No.
That won't be acceptable, right? Just like everybody wants that immediate satisfaction of information. They're going to look at it. We want immediate satisfaction of repair and rehabilitation, and I think that's going to be key as we continue to grow and this industry continues to evolve. Just as we've seen, you know, the water industry. I mean, for years you could never replace a water line, right? Using a trenchless technology. Now
Right.
now we have products that are available that allow us to fix that water line and trenchlessly, and where a job would take 3 to 5 months to fix before, we can do it in 30 to 45 days. So services are repaired, lining is being done, and it's a great opportunity for the industry to continue to grow, and that H2O and that water side of the business is going to continue to trenchless water renewable technologies are going to continue to really grow from that standpoint. And it's exciting because from our standpoint with Vortex, it's just looking at those products and saying, where does the future grow, and really being able to provide those solutions.
Yeah.
Back to that whole assess, adapt, and overcome. I mean, you're providing a solution that hasn't been there in the past, and
Right.
it's really interesting to watch the industry change, and communities and utilities and municipalities look at it from a standpoint to say, oh, really, that's available now? We can fix this water main using this type of technology, and the answer is yes.
Yeah.
We can.
And you're seeing more municipalities that are now open to those things that they weren't, like even 3 or 4 years ago. It was like, don't talk to me about anything new. Now times change, and part of it's because you have federal funds out there for it. So
No, absolutely.
yeah, but the need is there. I mean, there's, I've always said in the classes that I do when we go around, whether it's Action Now, which goes around state for rural Colorado, or like the Rocky Mountain section for AWWA or rural water. I always tell these guys, it's like the systems are growing or shrinking, like your population's growing or shrinking, and everywhere it's growing for the most part, unless you're in California, right?
Well,
Might be shrinking there. Might want to get out now. But for the most part, populations are growing. And so the systems, are they growing at the same rate? Are your operating budgets growing at the same rate? They're not. So you have to get outside the box and think about where can we save some money so we can apply it here? Because you have to have, a program that maintains the system, and then you have to have a portion that's set to replace and then repair. So you have these different areas, and you have to, apply those funds, and where you put that money is, that's everything for that budget.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And, even today I have an opportunity to talk about some of the products that I did this morning.
The NWPSA. Right?
Yeah. And, when you talk about that and you ask, hey, how many people are using these type of technologies, and the hands all go up. Everybody kind of looks around to make sure that it's okay to put your hand up.
Right.
And as I was doing my presentation this morning, hey, how many people are using CIPP lining? How many people are using manhole rehabilitation? How many people are using section repair products in their trenchless solutions? And at first, everybody was a little hesitant. And all of a sudden, as we continued through the presentation and it became very interactive, that they were raising their hands and saying, hey, yeah, we're doing this. And afterwards, several utility and municipalities came up and started asking, hey, this is great to understand. I didn't know that was available, or hey, we're doing it this way, but we didn't know these type of technologies are available. And just that education portion is just so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's really that's the challenge, I think, too, in the industry is letting them know what products are out there and available. So, I've always said this is the good manufacturers, their job is to go out and find the problems. I have a couple examples. EBA's one, Fernco's another one, where I say a good manufacturer will go out there and they'll take the problem that you have, and then they'll, if they're not providing a solution for that, then why do they exist? And I remember having a guy that came up to our we had a table at the Rural Water Conference, and this was years ago, and this guy picks up I'm trying to remember if it was a coupling, like a or a tapping sleeve, and they would just do this, and they would just do this, and they would just do this. This would be perfect. And I said, you have no idea how many products we represent where the founder did exactly that. Because that's, we want to know those problems. Another one was Fernco coming up with a coupling for and that was out of Colorado. We had a contractor and a distributor that was out in the Western Slope where ADS and corrugated hand core, that pipe is all over the place, and that's all they deal with. And they were having a problem with the couplings that bite onto that, and so they listened and found a solution and provided it. And those are the ones that are going to survive in the industry. But we have to know the challenges, and then we have to communicate that now those solutions are out there, because I see it just like you. We're talking about how all the time people come, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know you could do that. Mm-hmm. So it's just communicating it now.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, being part of the Vortex family and working closely in the trenchless arena, I see just how incredible the product arrangement, the lining, the sectional repairs have changed the industry. Our manhole rehabilitation products allow that to really grow, because some of those traditional methods are very important, and in some cases you have to use a traditional method.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, who is out there, growing that business? Who is out there working from a standpoint to provide those advancements in technology and trenchless rehabilitation? And that's the cool part about being part of a company that really is focused on that, and the leadership, within the organization. And Mike Villano has done an incredible job of leading the Vortex Companies and really pushing the business and the industry to look at it from a different standpoint, and very fortunate to be part of that.
Yeah, Mike's a cool guy.
Great guy.
How do I get him on here?
I don't know. I know that he's scheduled to get out here and be part of this, and I know that that's something he wants to do.
I'd love to have him here on the table and get him across and have him tell the story. So,
and I think that's
what we're going to do.
I got to let him tell that story.
I know.
He's definitely got a unique story to tell.
Yeah, he's got some funny stories too. Heard a couple of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'd love to have him on. That's an invitation, Mike. So. But yeah, it'd be fun to have him on. But like what you were talking about, it definitely is. Everything, the need for those solutions, the need for alternative products. We're at that point right now where it's a crossroads. So we can either, because the problem's not going away with the aging infrastructure, either we're going to fix it. And I always tell them, if it's not in your lifetime, it may or may not be in your kid's lifetime if we don't fix it, but I can promise you it's going to be in your grandkid's lifetime. And that's across the board. And because most people just think when you walk into the house, and where does water come from? The faucet. Where does it go? In the toilet. Where does it go when it's bad? In the toilet. And that's just how most people think. That's how I always thought my whole life.
Yeah, until you're in this business, you just don't think about it. It's unseen. It's not a sexy business, all right?
Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind, and a lot of people look at it from a standpoint as, hey, this is just what happens, right? And being part of this is in this industry has been just eye-awakening to watch it evolve and make sure that we are providing the next generation and the next generation clean water and opportunity for advancements, and taking care of the infrastructure that's been built for years and years and years. I mean, as I said earlier, we talk about 250 years of the United States being the United States, right?
Right.
And we're celebrating it this year, and I think it's just a huge accomplishment as we look at that, as our infrastructures continue to grow, our population grows, as you talked about,
Yeah.
to be able to advance to the point where we have the ability to go in and fix something without deteriorating or ripping something open is awesome from a trenchless standpoint.
Yeah. Well, have you been out to Europe before?
I have.
Like, looking at their systems, and because I've always that to me has been interesting, because to me, after a few years, I'm like, man, Europe's already got a lot of this stuff figured out, and I don't know if it's the way their utility their infrastructure was set up. Obviously, years well before, we were drawing lines for how are we going to provide water, and how are we going to deal with wastewater. So they've been doing it a lot longer. And when you look at their systems over there, they're a lot different. And some stuff that they do, that they're just like, they look at us like, why the hell are you not doing this? And then we look at them like, that's crazy. But to me, I've been looking at Europe a lot as far as what the types of pipe they use, the fittings, like what is it they're doing? Because that system should have fallen apart a long time ago. And obviously, in certain areas it is. But when you look at, like in France, that's they've had infrastructure there since the 1300s. So why don't we ever look at that? Like, what did you see when you were there?
Well, and I think that as you said, one of the greatest case studies that that I'm aware of is Vortex is about a year and a half, 2 years ago, did the largest infrastructure rehabilitation project in Greece. I mean, the oldest society, the oldest civilization that is known in Rome and in the Roman Empire and in Greece and all those type of things. And when you look at it from that standpoint, and you can go in and rehabilitate those products and fix their infrastructure, it's pretty amazing that that technology is available.
Yeah.
Today in our presentation earlier, we did a little case study on the Statue of Liberty, and a job that we worked on and used our Geocrete product and our UV lining product, where we at the Liberty Island, and we were able to go in and rehabilitate the Statue of Liberty, an iconic structure in the U.S. that symbols freedom, and we were able to do that all at night and go in there and fix those problems without shutting down any commerce, making sure that those things are taking place is amazing to me.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. So
they went in and repaired. Was that from the inside repairing?
Manhole,
like structure guard types. Yeah,
it was our manhole rehabilitation product and our UV lining.
Okay. Within
Liberty Island, right underneath the Statue of Liberty. There's a great case study, and it was highlighted in the Trenchless magazine, and a great picture when we were talking today and doing our presentation. We showed a picture of that, and everybody kind of applauded, because here's the Statue of Liberty, and we're celebrating that our 250-year celebration, and that is our number one symbol, that we were able to fix that without shutting anything down, and it's just amazing case study.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that one out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're talking about 250 years. I remember when I was a kid, I was all bummed out that I missed the bicentennial, because I was born in '79. I was 76. So, but yeah, I'm excited that now I get a.
I was born, but I don't remember it. I was really young at that time, so I don't want to date myself, but definitely don't remember anything about it. So it'll be a great celebration this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Aren't they doing like a UFC fight or something like that in front of them? It's like making a circle.
I think they're doing a lot of different celebrations. So
yeah,
be great.
It's gonna be my wife already volunteered to host a neighborhood party, so that's gonna get crazy.
Absolutely.
250 years, man. Well, we just hit in the Marine Corps. We just had our 250th birthday, so we did that last year. It was cool. Got to have a bunch of guys come out that I haven't seen for years. It was awesome.
Oh, that'd be neat.
So, yeah, 250th birthday for the Marine Corps. Hoorah. So, out of all the positions you've held, because you said you started out as a
regional sales manager, national sales manager,
and so we can go to the
president of a company, senior vice president of a company. I've held multiple roles.
What's your favorite position?
I think they're titles. All right, titles.
Yeah.
A lot of people are stuck on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most important position for me was just and continues to be the education, working in front of people, having that dialogue. Obviously, creating leadership and strategy is huge because it's great. You can be in front of people, you can provide the solution, but if you don't have a strategy to get that product to them, or you don't have a strategy to sell that product and train and educate, the product's useless.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I don't know if it's been a favorite position. I think it's a position of being able to use the experience, use knowledge that you've learned and retained over many years being in this industry to educate,
To train and
train and educate. And that's been probably.
When did you do the most of that? When you were the
I don't think it's ever stopped.
Well, when you were regional sales, did you? It was
Regional sales manager. You're really. You're worried about making your numbers. You're worried about managing because you're usually young in your career.
Yeah.
And that doesn't dissipate as you get further in executive leadership positions and management. But it really changes a little bit when you look at it from a standpoint where you're comfortable because you're educated, and then you're educating others. And when you're doing that, what your title is really doesn't really matter, other than people look at you a little differently, that you have some experience and you know what you're talking about, and having that ability to speak clearly and speak educated gives people confidence.
Yeah.
And that's really the point that hits home with me. I mean, as far as, just looking at it from that standpoint, that's been most important.
Training and educating, yeah. I love doing that. I love the training. I love doing classes. I love teaching because I learn more when I prepare them. Mm-hmm. Even when you think, okay, I got this one down, and you're diving in, and you're like, all right, let me make sure I got this one buttoned up, because you don't want to look stupid, right? But you end up learning more every single time you're doing a presentation or teaching, and it's every time. And then the feedback, you talked about listening.
And listening, I mean, I go back to how we started this is, from a sports aspect.
Yeah.
Being in that leadership role from early on, you learn that people depend on you. You have a role and a responsibility to support and grow, do your job, and I think that as you look at this business, and you look at the different roles and responsibilities you've held through your career, it's just so important that each time that you grow your bag of tricks, as you would say, is that you add the next level of that.
Tool belt.
Next tool belt.
Bag of tricks.
Bag of tricks. Add to your tool belt. I think that's just so important in every role that I've held. Growing different businesses, strategizing. I love the development portion of it. I'm a big picture guy. As you said, you're not great at details. I'm not great at details. So you surround people that are great at details, and you can't do your job without them. Yeah. So it's important to look at it from that standpoint to really grow.
Well, and I got to say, I tell you, I think it's just as equally as it's important for somebody who's not great at details to surround themselves with somebody who is. I think it's equally important for somebody who is very detail oriented to surround themselves with somebody who's constantly thinking outside the box. It's the same thing for them. It's a symbiotic relationship. It really is. Like
it is.
Those are things that I think it's kind of funny when And Brent's like, this is the biggest water nerd I've ever met. And he used to call me the mad scientist, and he called the office the mad science shop. And he understands that you want to surround yourself with people that do, that may have other traits that you don't necessarily have, or that might not be your skill set or your passion. But I think you're right. It's both. I think it's symbiotic.
Oh, it really is.
Because without those people, I remember reading there was a book that I read when I was deployed. I read the Iacocca book. It's just sitting on a shelf there. And it was from the 80s, about Lee Iacocca. And in this chapter, it was called Beware the Bean Counter.
Know it well. Read the book.
Okay, read the book. Yeah. So basically that person will, so unchecked, somebody who has nothing but, sees things big picture and is willing to take the risk. Well, it's easy to take the risk when it's not your money, right?
Exactly.
But it's like that person that has that vision, unchecked, can destroy your company. But equally said, the person that is always suppressing the vision can also destroy your company. So it is a balance, like everything in life.
Everything's a balance. And having, I've worked with so many incredible people over the years that have that ability to be very detailed. And they look at me and they go, I don't know how you do what you do. And I look at them and I go, I don't know how you do what you do. Because I couldn't sit there and be that focused and detailed on that process. And they look at me and say, how do you stand in front of people? How do you go out and shake hands with people you never met? And how do you communicate that way? And I look at them and I go, we were both given, a skill. And that's why you do what you do, and I do what I do, and it works. Yeah. And it's amazing to watch that kind of relationship. And you're always fortunate when you have a team of people that can balance each other. Yeah. And I think that balance is huge. Absolutely. You can't have all alpha dogs. All right. Yeah. I've always been accused of being an alpha dog, where I'm gonna go and attack. But you can't have everybody in your organization that way. You have to have people that can digest that information. I always have you have the hunters and gatherers. Yeah. That old story where you have people that go out and hunt and you throw it back over the fence. They gather information, they put it together, and then they regurgitate it back out. Mm-hmm. And you need both sides of that. Yeah. The hunter and gatherer mentality is what's created society. I mean, and it's kind of fun to watch that a little bit.
At the end of the day, that's always going to be the way it is. I mean, people have their personality. It is a part of you. I mean, I'm not going to have the cool thing though is I've learned to develop or try to work and learn from people that are highly organized, which I'm not going to be at their level, but like blocking off times a day, like asking, how do you do that? How do you manage all that? Because I'm not the type of person that can just for this amount of time, I'm going to shut this off and I'm going to only do this and I've learned, and I've learned to do it, and it's actually the only thing that kind of keeps me somewhat grounded there.
Well, you're a better man than I, because I haven't figured that one out yet.
That's tough.
I laugh all the time because it's like, are you really on vacation or you're not on vacation? Because the phone rings or the email goes off, you're going to answer. Mm-hmm. And some people say, hey, you got to have that break. And what drives me personally is to say, no, that's okay. I can be enjoying my time
and still
do what I do, because that's what makes me happy.
And I agree with you, because for me, what I do for a living is completely, now at this point, it's like entangled and entrenched in who I am as a person. It's what I am. So to me, and what's funny is you get people over like, well, you have to, there has to be a balance. I'm like, my balance is without, if I don't enjoy what I do, then how could I live with myself for spending that much time away from my family, or not being around all the time, or not having to travel or things like that. it's like I have to love what I do, and if that doesn't work, then nothing else works too. Because no one wants to be miserable every day, right?
No, no, and you don't. And I always use the analogy. You can either be miserable all day, and you can be miserable in what you do, or you can find happiness in what you do. And you have to find that happiness. Is everything ever going to be perfect? Never. But it's okay. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay. For years, I struggled with the word failure, and people would, if somebody said failure, it was like failure, and it was hard for me to use that term because I wouldn't allow myself to fail, and failure is part of life, and I learned that, and
It is.
and growing from that, it's an important part, and for many years, I mean, not losing an employee, not losing an opportunity, not losing a job. If I failed at that, I beat myself up pretty hard, and for years, it kind of became a joke with many of my team members at the time. Was, Ron, don't use the word failure around him because he's not going to accept that. And now it's like failure is okay, and we kind of
As long as you learn.
As you learn, and it's important.
Well, and I think it's like was it Thomas Edison said? They said what you learned, or how many times did it take to make the light bulb, and how many times did you fail? And he said no, and he wouldn't call it failure. He said I learned 999 times how to not make a light bulb. Exactly. So it wasn't failure; it was led to success.
Led to success.
Yeah, and that's the way. That's the way it is, and that's the way I think everyone should view that. Failure is an opportunity to learn.
It is, and like I said, I think, through the years watching the evolution of trenchless technologies in the rehab market, there's been a lot of failures.
It just sucks when they cost a lot of money.
They cost a lot of money. It does suck. There's no doubt about that.
But you learn.
But you learn, and the next time you make sure you don't make that same mistake.
There's no way to proceed with innovation technology if you don't have failure. You can't. There's no possible way. You can think of something, and you can have this great idea, and then when you put it in the field, practicality. Like I'll give you a good example. Like I think HDPE pipe is phenomenal. I think it's great pipe. Problem is, it's the points of where you could have a potential failure, and if it's not communicated effectively, which I think that a lot of the reason why people you have people that love HDPE pipe or they hate it, and the ones that hate it, it's because they didn't really understand. It wasn't communicated to them what the pipe will do, like the expansion, like the movement, and then the fact that when you fuse it, that thing, that it's got to be clean. So you're asking somebody to have a clean space in a hole 6 feet, 8 feet deep full of mud and water. Mm-hmm. And if it's not done right, you're going to have an issue. So it's really about making sure that you mitigate those, and it's trial and error, right? And it is. But without that fail process, you don't learn how to make it better. And to their point, to their credit, then it was like, okay, we need to have certified installations. And there's a lot of products like that where you get a great product. The engineer has done a great job of designing, but maybe hasn't communicated what the potential pitfalls are. Like, hey, if this guy doesn't understand how to install it, we're going to look really stupid. Mm-hmm. Because usually it's not necessarily the product. It's the application, how it's done, the process, or it might be the wrong application, or not understanding the dynamics involved in the installation.
100%. And again, I think, from the lowest person on the totem pole to the person that's making the final decision, everybody is important. And recognizing that is huge, because that process is not successful from top to bottom, or bottom to top. Either way you want to look at it, if everybody doesn't know their roles and responsibilities. Yeah. And throughout this time that we've been speaking is really been about communication. It's about leadership, and looking at it from a leadership standpoint, and making sure that people understand that you know how you communicate that and how you communicate leadership and whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter what your role is within the system, that everybody has a role and everybody is communicating on what that role is, and then you're going to have success. And I think that's just a huge part of everything that we've talked about. And I look at it from a standpoint of really understanding that if you don't communicate, you don't have that leadership, you won't be successful. And it doesn't matter what the product is.
Correct.
And infrastructure will continue to evolve. The solutions will continue to evolve. The opportunities will continue to evolve. But we have to continue to have that leadership from bottom to top, top to bottom. However you want to flip the script, Yeah. And I think that's important.
Oh, well said. I think I love. I appreciate you doing the class this morning, because I think the more that you can get guys in the field, and you're seeing these young guys now, there's a lot of young guys in the field, but the more you get these guys in the field, and they can understand that, like, the manufacturer's there to help them solve a problem, the better we're going to be once that relationship gets to the point where it's like, hey, we're XYZ and we have this problem. And there's been that disconnect to where, manufacturers like, we're not going to change everything for just you guys. But it's like, hey, if they're experiencing that problem, there's a good chance that there's a lot of other people out there experiencing that problem. And communicating that, communication. I think that's going to be the tagline phrase for the episode, is communication. Effective communication and dealing with infrastructure is, we have to communicate across always. You as a manufacturer, can't say, no, we're not going to do something special for just you. Let's find out if that exists in other areas too, because it's probably not just them.
No, and communicating the solution. That's
it.
The
solution.
When I opened up this morning in our presentation, I talked about providing solutions to infrastructure and rehabilitation. There's a lot of different options out there, but what are the solutions that you're not aware of? And let's talk about those, because you're used to doing it a certain way.
Yeah.
And that communication is just huge. So, I think that everything that we've talked about today really allows us to have, a baseline and a foundation to continue to educate this industry. And I appreciate, throughout this process, just to be able to talk about some of these things, and it's kind of been fun.
Well, I always love talking to you. That's the best part of the industry, is you get to get relationships and have people that you'll talk to at non-work hours, or they can call whenever. And
what time were we talking? At 9 o'clock last night?
Yeah, last night was 9 o'clock. Yeah, that part of the industry is my favorite part. The people that I've met, and that's kind of where the podcast turned from. We thought Utility Room Legends was gonna be like stories and stuff, and then it quickly realized it wasn't about the stories, it was about the people. The people are the legends, because there's gonna be people that that know. I knew your name before when I first started. I hadn't met you for another 5 or 6 years after that. I think it was over the phone. But I knew your name, and that's because you had that relationship with Brent. So it's all about relationships. And then that's the best part, is that once you find these people that are all, they're like, it's like I got my family, and then I have 1 or 2 people, the guys I was in the Marine Corps with, and then it's like everyone else. My friends are all in the industry, and we talk. They'll call if there's a personal issue, and I love that. It's the best part of this job is the personal part of it aspect.
100%. And Brent and Diamond and Sky and the people here at Repmasters, yourself. It's been a long relationship. It's been a great relationship. Watching the business grow from, I think, 6 people that when I first started with Brent many years ago till now is just incredible. And the growth of your business and and the things that you're doing through Utility Legends and this whole thing is amazing to me. And being part of it again, having another go around with Rep Masters and UGO is just awesome. It's fun for me because it's like coming home. It's like family, and that's the cool part.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, man. It's like everything for me is I do it because I want to do it. I love it. And it's fun.
It's got to be fun, or it's boring, right?
It's fun and it's important. So you get you get both parts of that. Because I'll tell these guys out here, their job is just as important as military or firefighters and first responders, and they're like those guys that you talk to today at the NWPSA. Like those guys are responsible for finding solutions, and they're going to have to think outside the box because it's not sustainable.
100%.
When you're losing 6 billion gallons of clean drinking water every single day, it's not sustainable. So those guys are going to have to figure it out. And I think it's cool when we do those presentations and seminars where they realize that we're not there to just sell them something. We don't want to sell them something. We want to provide a solution. And that's what I try to explain to them is that no one out here, I know there's companies that just want to sell widgets, but the ones that succeed, they provide solutions.
Solutions and education, and that's the main thing. You communicate and you find that solution for them, and you let them know it's available. And then the next time that comes up, boom, they look at it and go, "Hey, I remember that presentation I went to. There are products available. Let me search that." Yeah. And that's the cool part.
Well, when you look at the most iconic companies in the industry, and there's names that just obviously pop out, and regardless of whatever the sentiment is or the sentiment is amongst people in the industry for that company, if they're one of those big companies, there's a reason they're there. Because if you can go back and trace it to, I've been in every one of these presentations where they go over the history of XYZ company. And it's like, and we did this, and this changed everything. The difference is what happens after that point. Do you just feast on that and say we're not going to adapt? Or do you say this is how we were passionate and we solved a problem, and that's if we want to be great, we should just keep doing that, solving problems. And that's what I think distinguishes. But everyone that you've seen that has those big, massive booths, at some point, they're only there because they solved a massive problem.
Innovation. I say it all the time. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. Just being part of the Vortex family of companies, watching the innovation is incredible.
Yeah.
Because it's always changing. It's always evolving. It's always looking for that next opportunity to communicate a solution to the industry. And that's really what drives me. It's incredibly part of that. And I've been very fortunate.
So it drives me too.
Yeah, it's just been being part of that is just huge, because it's always like, what's next? And then the next product comes out, and the next innovation comes out, and it's just really cool to be part of a business and a strategy that allows us to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm into that. Well, we usually we usually kind of we're close to wrap-up time. I do Tales from the Trenches. We have this little segment. So it's like any story that you have that's like something like you saw. Like I've seen some crazy stuff with people on installation. Any crazy story you got, I actually had from episode 1, Mike Youthy. He had a crazy story about getting electrocuted. So anything you have for Tales from the Trenches, like your most iconic industry story.
Well, I have a lot of them, but I think one of the best ever was one of the first times I ever did a section repair in Cleveland, Ohio, and I had a gentleman tell me that he knew how to do this.
Yeah,
and he didn't want to follow the process, and we were standing in the middle of the street. We were doing a section repair on a clay pipe. And I said, hey, you really want to use our regulator. It blows off at a certain PSI. We don't want to blow the pipe up. And he looked at me and said, I know exactly what I'm doing. You don't need to educate me. You don't need to communicate.
I've been doing this since you were in diapers. That's what
I know what to do. And as we stood there, the ground underneath us bounced us because they blew that pipe apart and overinflated the section repair, blew the packer apart, blew the pipe apart. It was a clay pipe.
And then blamed you.
And then turned around and said, "Why didn't you tell me that?" But it was one of the greatest stories I've ever told and remembered because it really felt like an earthquake.
How scared were you in that ground side?
I was scared out of my mind. It scared the shit
That's
out
what
of
people
me.
don't realize is, man, when that force starts moving, like whether it's air in pipe, yeah, you don't want to do that. That's not a good. That's called a pipe bomb.
It was a pipe bomb, and I tell people that all the time. I'm like, the first time I ever did this, please just follow the instructions and the recommendations. But he wasn't going to have it, and it shook the ground underneath us, and I'll never forget that. That was one of the first times I ever put a section repair on the ground.
So installation error.
Installation error.
My dad was a computer scientist. He used to always say it's user error.
User error, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what we should call it, user error.
But it was a great experience because I was able to use that for and the remainder of my career. I always tell that story. I'm like, hey, just follow the process. That's the number one thing.
Oh man, I don't know now if it's gonna be follow the process for like the theme thing for the episode. Follow the process or communication. It's gonna be really close.
Yeah, I like communication.
Communication's better, right?
Communication's a little better.
Well, look, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your time, and you've been. This year has been refreshing to touch base with you again. So it's been great, and I appreciate all the support you give us, and just want to say thank you, man.
Well, I appreciate you, John, and I appreciate Rep Masters and the job you guys are doing. So this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, help me get Mike on next time.
We'll get him here.
All right, brother.
All right. Thank you, man. Take care.
Yeah.